Hi, it's Joy, and today we're watching Superman and Lois, Season 3, Episode 1, Closer. This is the last season before I catch up. I'm very excited about it. Season 4 is probably going to be delayed because of the writer strikes and actor strikes, and I fully stand behind them and support them in that. We will wait as long as necessary. They deserve everything they are asking for. And more, probably. I love this show. I am so excited for another season. I know in this season a big change is Jonathan. I knew that before I even started the show, that the actor put his mental health first and stepped back, and they recast him into this season. So that is going to be weird because change is scary, but I'm also not going to be like, ugh, that's not Jonathan. Like, I'm intrigued, scared, ready. And I just love this show, and I cannot wait to see what these lovely characters get up to next. A reminder that you can find all of my reactions to this show on my Patreon 1 month in advance, unedited, and let's go.
I knew what we were about to lose, because we all felt that fear.
Hello, Jonathan.
And Jonathan.
Oh, Jonathan. He's accepting the future, and his babies are with him. Things are really optimistic. They're obviously about to fall apart.
Cost all of us.
Oh, he has a job now.
We're getting closer.
That is the dream. For us to realize we are one and not separate.
Where's to thank Tal for the use of his villa?
It's gonna be a little hard to do now that he's on Bizarro World, but
You'll see him again, Clark.
This man that tried to destroy humanity, genocide humans, killed a lot of people. We're just gonna casually have sex in his villa and be sad that we don't get to see him again? I have many questions. I know he kind of proved himself, and I know that like a lot of that was to do with how he was raised and his upbringing and the influence he was still under from his father and everything, and the abuse he suffered. But at the same time, why are we acting like he just did a little boo-boo in season 1 instead of like what he did?
They're gonna have to wait.
yeah.
Everything is far too happy. I am here for it. I would take season 3 just being them happily living their lives. A little bit of Superman drama here and there, but otherwise happy. He's getting better. Clark!
Like, by myself?
Straight home.
He's trusting you. That's Jonathan.
And both hands on the wheel.
Oh,
10 and 2.
bless.
Ma'am.
He's been so excited to learn to drive.
I know.
This is very weird.
To help me.
But it's still our baby boy.
Let's go. Slow down. You can speed up. Your tailgate. You're gonna hit that.
Mom, please.
Yeah, exactly like that.
No, let's go. If it's okay with you, of course.
It's so, like, again, like, these are lovely. If she can build up relationships here, it's like I said, it's almost like a kind of, even though you don't really have, it's like your grandfather also had a twin brother.
Yeah.
But
All right then.
it is nice of her to get a version of these relationships back, and that genuinely was the most fatherly, grandfatherly thing I've ever seen Sam do. Ever.
When I sit down to sign the papers,
Mayor Lang, we got a problem at the school.
some crisis pops up.
He's hoping it's because deep down she doesn't want to sign them.
I have to go. I'll be there as soon as I can.
Sure, go save whatever you're saving.
Yeah, people's lives. Chrissy, they are more important than your paper. Okay, clean slate. Chrissy is not annoying. Chrissy is not annoying. Chrissy was not annoying in season 1.
Jordan?
Oh.
Not gonna help. Stop! No!
Oh dear. See, this is the danger in letting kids like Jordan train and, you know, letting them kind of, obviously, I mean, I fully stand by him needing training. I just didn't like the fact that Sam was doing it behind his parents' back. I basically never got in trouble for that. Like, anyway. But it's because he's gonna run off by himself and do things like this instead of, he's not currently prepared for it. And yeah, he's being prepared for it. Maybe they need to do more, not just sparring with Superman's previous enemies, but also doing tactical strategic training or something. But it's just, he's gonna make dumb decisions.
I had it under control.
You didn't though, sweetheart.
Home? now.
Clark needs to say, but you didn't. I understand. Like, this conversation needs to be. Hopefully, they'll have it when they get home. I get the instinct, sweetheart, but what you actually did, because you don't quite know what you're doing, is made it worse because you did XYZ and it made it fall when it wasn't. I don't know. He was like, that's not going to help or whatever. I don't quite understand what was going on. And maybe even if there were times when Clark was a baby superhero, if he made similar mistakes, be like, we've all been there, but you have to let me teach you.
When I meet her for drinks later.
Aye.
I'm glad they're all friends again. Oh, she wasn't there for that.
What are you doing here?
Please, Dr. Irons, just a few questions.
I've made it very clear
Oof.
I didn't want to talk, but now you come into my office pretending to be Ginger
Oh.
Metcalf.
I just need to know
Oh,
if
good.
your brother might have had some connection to Bruno Mannheim.
Oh, she is investigating. Panicked me for a second.
John Henry was mixed up with a lot of bad people. He was a decorated Army veteran. Everyone in my family is military.
Version
My
of your
father
brother's
raised us to
here.
serve. John Henry took the brother that I was raised with. Never would have betrayed his country. Something
Was he
changed
set up?
when he got out of the service.
It's a Borneo pygmy elephant found in Indonesia and Malaysia.
Got turned around, did you, Jordan?
Cool. As a friend.
He's a little puppy.
I'll see you at your birthday party tomorrow.
She didn't even take the present. That's brutal. I mean, I know it's because she's trying to really make sure the boundary is... Sorry, I'm sliding around on my chair. Make sure the boundary is there very clearly, and if she takes the present, it might continue to blur it a little bit. But she didn't even take it. That is harsh.
Something I wanted to discuss with you. Have you ever heard of the DoD Academy?
The one in Metropolis?
See, I think you could really benefit from a place like that.
Oh god, so is he actually only trying to get closer to her to get her to go to the DoD, which will get John Henry to go to the DoD? Is his one vaguely familiarly good thing he was doing actually a sneaky sneak?
I'm already in school.
Genius like you has no business being a small.
I mean, it is true, she is extremely
Challenged.
intelligent and she
That
could go
kind
to
of
any school
projects
she
bring
wanted.
about real world change.
She thought she was getting a piece of her granddad back.
I might be pregnant.
Yep. Well, changing news.
Pregnant?
There's still some blood work she has to do, but there's a pretty good chance.
I mean, how?
Clark
No, you know what I mean? Did you think this would happen?
probably means no more day trips to Tell's Villa.
I'm pretty sure that's how we got into this situation.
How does Tao still have a villa, given that he's a criminal?
How was it?
Sucked.
He used your daughter. He lied to her.
Sam do?
I should have known Sam being an actually decent person was a suspicious thing.
Nobody'd be like Grandpa. It's nowhere near the same guy.
Wasn't your fault, sweetheart. He should never have done that, especially not using the grandfatherly connection.
That said, I made it worse.
Babies.
Did you?
That is the danger with small town.
How is Lois?
This
Still processing?
is bizarrely crazy. Not where I thought we were going.
And you?
Oh my god, wait. Clark told me things were really great between the two of you. He was right. He said that.
I'm so glad they still have their Lana.
Over his face. And the first time you hear them giggle or they say your
I'm
name. And all the things were
scared.
too tired to appreciate.
Things are
the
too
first time
happy.
around.
I think so. Yeah.
It is just such a
And that's your answer.
not a possibility you'd have ever considered, isn't it? Like,
Coach Gaines, you work at the DMV?
Imagine that. Oh, why would I need another job?
it's not his fault alone.
Doctor points right off the bat for attitude.
Attitude?
Yeah, being detriment to public safety.
Oh. I'm sorry, bud. Well, maybe next time.
But I still passed.
Yes. That is the way you have to deliver all good news.
Jordan, if he wants to ride a
He was so happy. He hasn't hugged me like that in years. I feel like I got my little boy back.
Yeah, no, I'm pissed with this man. He finally needs to get taken to
I had a
task.
nice time with your
You had
daughter.
no-
I'm gonna gauge her interest.
Nat's
first.
interest was you.
Mm-hmm.
She was excited to spend time together.
Same here.
Then what were you doing?
Mm-hmm.
She's
He's a shit
15-year-old
person to
girl
be
whose
near
world was
children.
destroyed. She needs friends
Literally.
and family.
This man is a terrible family member.
I was.
He always does these huge fuck-ups and then turns and goes, "You're right, I was out of line."
Garlic pepper?
Everyone is worried these two are falling in love.
Go raid your pantry and
I mean, Jonathan suddenly has friends, so that's nice.
Thank you, everyone, for
Given
coming
that he
out. It
kind
means
of
so much to
destroyed the
us.
football season, I thought they all hated
Do
him.
love to embarrass.
You have powers just like you.
What is this? Cool shot.
I could do this all day.
Okay. To every single person who is standing around watching, what the fuck are you doing? Like, the ones that were injured and on the ground, valid. The ones standing around watching... Does he have X-Kryptonite or something? Why is he powered now?
Hey, who did this to you? Who gave you powers?
Mm-hmm.
They're coming for me. I can't let them stop me. I have to finish this first.
Fuck.
Jordan, the last thing I want to do is hurt you.
He knows
Because
that.
I do still that you respect that. Please?
He is respecting it. Part of why he's been ignoring you, because... Well,
What you doing? Is
hearing
it
his
bad?
dad fighting and not being able to do anything. His dad told him not to.
Are you gonna, like, fly off?
You should maybe go talk to your mum about what you're hearing.
Who did this to you? I can help you.
No one can help me.
Well, they were certainly coming for him. Is it going to be the arms dealer dude?
There aren't any bullets.
What the fuck? Is it messing with his hearing, or are things actually happening? Like it was a distraction that made him leave?
Idea, but I had it earmarked for a reason.
Then you'll have to convince me it's better than fixing our school.
Why are you coming to a
The same
birthday party
school
to do
your son
this?
goes to.
The kids, this is serious. You can't be messing around in things you don't understand.
Then tell her about it. If you're being blackmailed or Smallville's being blackmailed or something, tell her about it, whatever it is. And don't do it at a birthday party with people around.
So unbelievably.
You are in way over your head.
Then tell her why. And again, don't tell her now at a kid's birthday party.
This isn't finished, Lana.
What is it with people in Smallville and getting, like, inappropriate at people's birthday parties? Like, this is a huge deal. I'm going to talk about it at someone's kid's birthday
Have
party.
some cake, shall
Always say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Basically a failed nation when it comes to any sort of personal relationship.
He's not wrong. At least he's self-aware.
I'd really like another chance for us to get to know each other.
He seems sincere, and I do think he does care.
Watching that video today and
I love this
seeing how
family.
much the boys have grown up.
I'd be
just-
happy to see it grow.
It made me miss having little ones in the house.
And nobody's at Tao's ski chalet.
Responsible adults, I see how it is. How does Tao still have all these assets when he was in like a DoD prison for being a literal illegal alien, not even the, like, not so bad kind? Oh dear. I mean, no one did anything wrong here, but... oh dear.
I signed the divorce papers.
Yeah. There's still a part of him praying she didn't
I
want to
didn't
sign
want
them.
your lawyer.
I think it's for the best. Doesn't mean there won't still be love there, but you had the second chance in this relationship and you threw it away.
We can rule out pregnancy.
Are you sure?
Yes. I'm still concerned about some of these symptoms you're having.
Needs a better closer.
Oh God,
Let's
what's
schedule you an
wrong?
appointment with our lab here in
Things
Metropolis.
seem too happy, but I didn't.
I'd like to run some more tests.
I wanted them to have a
Figure out what's
baby.
causing all of this.
Increase the dosage.
He's dead.
Is that like a
So if
mask
we
or a
increase the
face?
dosage right away.
Dun dun dun. It is Mr. Mannheim.
We're getting closer.
I wanted closer to me that we were all getting closer together, not that you were getting closer to your goals. And it was both, but that's not the point. Okay, so Superman and Lois season 3 is back. I mean, I say that like it hasn't been 1 week since I watched season 2, but you really do feel that this is a fresh season. And it isn't just because one of the actors is different, it is because, you know, there is that kind of whole different feel to it. Even more so than there was between seasons 1 and seasons 2, with more people knowing about the superhero secret, with kind of just Lois was saying about how things are just different and more hopeful ever since what happened at the end of the last season. Okay, so much to delve into. I will start with Jonathan. I think the new actor is doing a really good job. He is, you know, it's not like, oh, it's the exact same person, but I think certain like mannerisms and way he was like reacting to things felt very much like Jonathan reacting to it, even though his face looked different. So I think he did a really good job of obviously looking back at like how the other actor had done things. And I do actually know both of their names. It was that actor was called Jordan, wasn't he? But like I have brain fog. I specifically looked up their names so that I would know what they were for this reaction. Did not write them down because I'm a moron who forgets about my brain fog, and so now I don't know them. But he's doing a really good job, I think, of both kind of making Jonathan seem like a consistent person, even though he's different, while also being himself, because he's not the exact same person. And I do want to say, his name is like Jordan Ellis or something, right? I fully support him and I really hope he's doing well, and that, you know, it's been a while now since he had to step down, and I just really hope he's doing okay. And I welcome the new actor whose name I will learn to our show. Now, so the boys are doing, you know, Jonathan seems to be doing pretty much the best we've ever seen him. You know, he's learned to drive, so he's got that bit of freedom. He always was kind of the one that could drive out of the two of them, or that would drive. He's still got his girlfriend, who doesn't seem to face any great problems for drug dealing, which is good. The football boys seem to have accepted him. At least 2 of them were at his birthday party being lads with him. And again, you know, I don't love the lad culture, but Jonathan is a lad, bless his soul. They seem to be being friendly with him, and not like the last time we saw him around any of the kind of big football boys. They were like, oh yeah, you're going to ruin everything again, Kent. Whereas maybe it is the fact that everyone almost died that put it into perspective to them, that like, yeah, we could hold a grudge against this, you know, kid for making a bad decision, or we could just be like, oh, we almost died, we're all alive now, let's make the best of it. We will see. Jordan is definitely struggling with the fact that he is training and being trusted with a lot, but he still isn't allowed to do everything. And I believe this is what I wanted. I want them to train him. I never didn't want them to train him, but I didn't want them to train him and then send him out like he was ready at 16, barely 16. Because he's going to make mistakes, and there probably were, I mean, with Clark, there wasn't anybody for him to learn from, there wasn't anybody to shelter him and keep him safe. If he didn't go out and do it, there was nobody. So in situations like we had where last season where Clark is not available, those are the times where I kind of feel like if there's a real emergency, maybe we do need to send Jordan. But right now that isn't the case. We not only have Superman, we have John Henry. Like, we have multiple people who can be going around doing what needs to be done. So I was glad that Clark very much was like, no, you don't do this without permission. And even though he could hear his dad losing this fight, he didn't go. And that is very interesting in a lot of ways. It makes me proud of Jordan because he listened and he didn't do something that just because he thought he knew what was right. It makes me sad for him because he had to hear that and kind of not help. It also makes me like, potentially, if you can hear your dad losing the fight, maybe go have a chat with your mum or John Henry so someone could go and help him that isn't you. But I was proud of him for not getting involved, because that must be so impossibly difficult to hear this fight that, at the very least, it doesn't seem to be going well for your dad. It's not winning it quickly. What are you going to do? And he didn't go out of his way. Jonathan, bless Jonathan, not you, sweetheart. Jordan and Sarah. I think, you know, I understand, like, Sarah needs to, like, really make sure this boundary line is clear, that she just wants to be friends for now, and that if he still likes her when she's ready, maybe they could get back together, and maybe she's never going to want to be back together. I do feel like the time when she, like, reminded him of that at the end of the episode was kind of unnecessary towards the end. Again, it kind of helped, like, you know, they then laughed and they were just being friends rather than kind of this weird tension. But I think you made that pretty clear when you didn't take the present he gave you and you called yourself his friend 50 times. You didn't really need to reiterate it again. Yes, he was ignoring you and that kind of sucks because you were friends, but if he needs to take some time himself to be like, because as much as Sarah needs time to process, and I want her to have that time, and I'm not begrudging her that time in the slightest, Jordan will also need time to process the fact that this girl he's in love with doesn't really want to be like that with him. She wants to be his friend, but she doesn't want to be around him sometimes. And that is the danger of dating someone you're friends with, because if it doesn't work out, it might be too painful to be around each other. And I think if Jordan needs a little bit of time where they're not hanging out all the time as friends to process the fact that they're not romantic, that should be allowed too. And I sort of feel like Sarah should have posted as more of a like, can we still be friends while I'm figuring stuff out, rather than like, hey, this is how I want things to be. You're on board, right, kid? Not that she called him kid, they're the same age. But so yeah, I kind of don't love that, but I do also understand that like she's a 15-year-old girl. She's putting her boundaries in place, and I'm proud of her for that. I just feel like she needs to sometimes take a little bit more of Jordan's feelings into account. They are babies though, so I don't hold anything harshly against either of them. Then we have Natalie, and I was so pleasantly surprised, I'm an idiot, when Sam just offered to do something nice with Natalie, to do what did we used to do together, let's do that. Now, I do think when he said, oh, you know, this version of me, I'm terrible with people, I never say the right thing, that is true. I also feel a little bit like it's kind of letting himself off, like, oh, I don't have to feel too bad about being terrible at people, because it's just who I am. Like, you can learn and do better. You raised 2 daughters not particularly well. You've now been a grandfather not particularly well to 2 people. You could be a grandfather a bit better to this 3rd one, or even like, you know, grand uncle or whatever. So I kind of feel like he was kind of doing that sort of thing of, oh, it's just I'm a shit person, but it's just who I am. Deal with it. Again, I'm not. He irritates me, but I do also think he does ultimately have his heart in the right place. He's just frustrating. Because he should have been upfront about the fact that he didn't know what the movie was. I know he obviously wanted Natalie to think he was cool, but maybe she'd have said, oh, well, maybe we could have a movie night in my house and we'll put on the first 2 films. I'd love to show them to you. I mean, as someone that loves media and TV shows, there is nothing better than finding out someone I care about or I'm friends with hasn't seen something I love and is interested in seeing it, because I get to share it with them, and that is the best feeling in the world. So I was glad that he made things up to her, but I also, like, this man, I would be one step away from, like, if I was John Henry, I'd be like, look, you fuck up again, and I'm gonna say you're not her grandfather, please stay out of her life. But Natalie does, on the whole, I hope she's able to find her place and do better this season. We sort of saw her finding a family with the boys in the previous season, so I hope we get to see more of her kind of coming to terms with, not coming to terms with her new life, she's pretty much come to terms with it, but finding a place, really, within this new world and the new family, the messy, big, extended family that she has. Kyle and Lana, I am glad the divorce papers are finally signed. I mean, my season 1 reactions were full of me telling them to separate, potentially get divorced, because they were not happy. Then I was really happy because they found a way through it. They used open communication, they talked, and they made their marriage healthy again and their family healthy again. But obviously that wasn't all a lie, because what really needs to happen, and as much as it's a big and scary thing, Kyle needed to come clean there and then with, so when things were shit, I did do this really awful thing, and it was tied into when our marriage wasn't doing so great, and it was tied into my alcoholism, and it is fully me. I'm not putting any of the blame on you, I messed up, but just so you know, and let them work it out or not from there. So I am actually really glad Lana hasn't taken him back. I have actually been a little bit disappointed with the fact that they had Sarah get over it in like 2 minutes. That's not how it works. Having been a teenage girl with a dad who cheated, that's not how that works. I mean, yes, I will give her that Kyle put in a lot more effort to be a decent dad after the fact, but that's not the point. Like, it isn't as black and white as they made it seem. Like, Sarah was really hurt and upset for 2 days, and then she just forgave him. I mean, I'm not saying she could never forgive him, but I feel like she just forgave him far too quickly. And the way they were having them last season, I was kind of trying to, like, psych myself up for them getting back together. I was like, oh yeah, it'll be good for the kids, and you know, maybe they'll be really healthy now. And I was trying to, like, because I really thought that was what they were building to. So I'm so pleasantly surprised that they are getting divorced. And that sounds horrible because it is really sad for them. And I did actually like feel quite heartbroken in that moment when she turned up with the divorce papers, because it is tragic, because they do care about each other, but their marriage isn't healthy. Their love isn't always enough in that kind of situation. The trust is gone. And I think they will be able to have some really healthy co-parenting, some maybe even have family dinners and things like they did last season, but as separated people. I will also give Kyle in this episode credit. There was a moment when he looked over and he saw her laughing with John Henry, and like everyone on their bloody mother is saying that those two are laughing, that means they're in love. But no, he saw them together, and I thought he was potentially going to go over there and try and like intercept it, or try and like join in and be like, it's my woman. But he didn't. He just didn't want to watch it anymore, and that is fair enough. You're able to look at someone you love, who you fucked up the relationship with, or it ended for whatever reason, see them moving on, potentially. She was just laughing with a man, but you know, and be sad about it. I would never ever begrudge him that. I mean, I think it's his own fucking fault, but he has feelings and he's allowed to feel them. So I was glad that he didn't do anything. And him and Chrissy, if that never comes of anything, that's totally fine. I mean, when she was like, oh, it's a mess. Is it? I mean, it's not messy, because he's in the middle of a divorce, and I personally would not want to be with somebody who was getting divorced in the process. But, you know, a one-night stand, I feel like it's got to become more than just a one-night stand, because otherwise we wouldn't have had it happen. Maybe it was just meant to be a funny moment, so someone would be there for him when he got the papers. I don't know. But I'm kind of glad that they're getting to a resolution. He's painting his new apartment, like he's putting down real roots. Now, I feel like, I know he's paying some sort of child support and everything. Surely as fire chief, he can afford a place with a bedroom. Or maybe this place has a bedroom and it's for the girls. I don't know. But I feel like, you know, it's not like when he initially rented that place, it was because he was viewing it as a short-term situation, either before he found a proper place to live or before he got to go home. But regardless, as long as he's making it his own, that's nice. Okay, so the two things I've got left to talk about are Lois. Seeing Lois and Clark fall so in love with the idea of having another baby, and then to have that taken away from them, is really sad. But especially when the doctor is concerned. Now, in TV shows, doctors are never concerned and it turns out to be nothing. So that worries me a lot. But seeing the idea of them getting so kind of giddy with excitement about having another kid, and I do think a lot of people, they reach that point where their kids are growing up and they miss having the little one, and, you know, if you can healthily do that and you think, you know, I mean, I always, again, they're not actually that old, so it's fine. But the older you are when you have kids, there's obviously nothing, like, inherently wrong with it, but you are also going to not be in that kid's life for nearly as long as you were with the other kids. You know, like, my half-sister is 21 years younger than me. My dad was very old. I mean, I can't think of, like, how old he was. He was, like, 50? Yeah, he was, like, in his early 50s, 50-ish, when he had her. She's gonna be very young when he dies, and like I genuinely feel bad for her because of that. Like, anyway, they aren't that old, so it's fine, but you know what I mean. But at the end of the, like, they would have a very supportive, loving family, and there would be so much love for that child if it were to exist. And maybe down the line they can have one or adopt one or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's obviously going to be something terrible, because TV shows would never have, oh, actually everything's fine, we were just worried, but you just need to have a bit more vitamin C and everything's fine, or something. I mean, I'm not a medical expert. Then the Mannheim dude. Now, obviously, the end of the last season with Diggle being like, this is the guy that killed John Henry, Irons, and this Earth. He was going to come up, and it still remains to be seen whether he's going to be the big bad for this season, or whether he's going to be, like, the kind of initial big bad that the real big bad is lurking behind, or whatever, because we've had that before. Kind of like in the first episode of the first season, like, John Henry Irons was flying around in his suit, blowing up nuclear plants. I still don't quite know what that was about, if I'm going to be honest. But Morgan Edge was the real big bad. Oh, quickly speaking of him, why does he still have resorts, or like have assets to his name, when he wanted to genocide humanity and should be, like, if he ever returns to this earth, should be returned to prison? Am I just gonna have to forget that and just have him be the quirky uncle? Please let him just stay on Bizarro Earth so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, very concerned about this Mannheim and the person with the weird face. Now, I still don't know whether that is a mask they can take off or whether they are some kind of alien. It seemed as though potentially they had some kind of technology, maybe it was their face, their mask, that messed with Clark's hearing. So he heard it sound like there were like multiple disasters happening, but there actually weren't. Now, he relies on his hearing a lot, so if it can mess with that, that's going to be very interesting. Seems like a very different kind of big bad this season, so I'm very intrigued. I love this show. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon 1 month in advance, and thank you so much for watching.